to Heartland Family Adventures. Today we are back with another fun cooking demonstration based on one of our favorite Disney recipes. So again, this is our second recipe that we're cooking out of our new Disney cookbook. So this is the Delicious Disney Walt Disney World Cookbook that they released for the 50th anniversary. And this book is such a fun read. If you haven't seen it, check it out. I'll put a link down below so you can check out. It has a lot of fun recipes and a lot of history in this book as well. You can read about the 50 years of history of Disney World, and they have a lot of fun recipes in here as well. And so if you remember, I posted a video a while back of the tiramisu from Trattoria al Forno. So now this is the second recipe that I'm cooking out of this cookbook, and today's recipe is the traditional bread and butter pudding that you can get at Raglan Road Irish pub at Disney Springs. And so if you've been watching our channel for a while, you know that we love Raglan Road. It's one of our favorite places to eat at Disney Springs. Our kids absolutely loved the live music and the dancers. They are so great there. And if you save room for dessert, you've got to get the bread and butter pudding is what they call it. I think it's called Gare's bread and butter pudding, but it's actually based on, so the two owners of Raglan Road, when it was founded, this is actually their grandmother's recipe for bread pudding. And so it's very classic, traditional Irish recipe. So if you've never been to Raglan Road and you're going to be headed to Disney Springs, definitely recommend checking out that restaurant. You see in the cookbook, it's got like a picture of Raglan Road as well as a picture of the bread and butter pudding. And they serve this, when you go to the restaurant, they serve it with this amazing creme anglaise, kind of creamy vanilla sauce, as well as a caramel sauce that you drizzle over the top of the bread pudding. So we're going to make those as well today, so we can try to replicate kind of the experience of the dessert that you get at Raglan Road. So I'm really excited to try out this recipe. It is one of our favorite things to get when we go to Raglan Road. Probably, I don't know, you have to let me know, Dave. I think out of all the bread puddings that we've tried at Disney World, probably our favorite.
It's a tough competition, but I think it's been the best.
A lot of good bread puddings, but it's hard. This is probably our favorite that we've discovered anyway. So we're gonna try to replicate this today. A pretty simple recipe. So if you've never made bread pudding before, pretty simple ingredients. It's just bread, eggs, milk, cream, sugar. This one actually has raisins in it. It's cinnamon, butter. Just a really simple, kind of classic, traditional kind of home style cooking recipe. So we're going to try to make this today. You are going to need a few ingredients as well as utensils for this recipe. The recipe calls for an 8 by 8 inch dish, but you want to make sure this is just a round. You could do a square dish as well. You're going to want to butter the inside of this dish as you get started, and just make sure that it's a fairly deep dish, because we're going to pack in layers and layers and layers of bread and cream mixture in here, and it's going to bake up, and you want it to be fairly thicker dish. So, but it doesn't have to be a large one. This one makes kind of a medium size recipe. You're also going to need butter, just classic white bread. This is just like Wonder white bread. You can use any kind of bread. It doesn't have to be thick bread or anything like that, just classic white bread. We are going to cut off the crusts. And then you're going to want half a cup of raisins, 1 1/3 cups of whole milk, 1 1/3 cups of heavy cream. And then you'll need 4 large eggs. You're going to need some butter. And then we're also going to use some cinnamon. And then a half a cup of sugar. So those are, very simple. Most of these ingredients you probably should have in your pantry or in your home. I think the only thing I had to get was raisins. I'll show you the step-by-step instructions for how to make this, and hope you enjoy. Let's get cooking. All right, so your first step is you're gonna take your butter stick and you're actually gonna butter the insides of your pan. So if you have a square pan or a round pan, doesn't matter. Just make sure you get a good layer of butter coating all around the bottom and the sides of that pan. This is just so your bread pudding doesn't stick. Make sure you get it all the way around the edges. Butter that thing really good. All right, so your next step, you're gonna take your white bread and you're actually gonna butter both sides of the bread. And so you're gonna want like a stick of some softened butter to do this, so it'll spread nicely. And just butter both sides of your bread. That's gonna be messy. And then we're gonna cut off the crusts. So I'm gonna cut around the outside of the bread, cut off the crusts. And then we're gonna cut it into quarters and triangles. So you're gonna do an X across the bread and to make little triangles. and we'll be ready for the next step. All right, so now that we have buttered and cut our bread into little triangles, so now you're going to start arranging it into the pan. And so you're going to take the little bread triangles and start to layer them inside the pan and to make a single layer at the bottom. Just kind of try to fill in all the space because you want to have a good layer of bread at the bottom. And since this is a roundish, you kind of got to move around and rearrange them to get them all to fit in there in a single layer. Try to fill in all the available space to get a good layer of bread down there, and then we're going to add a layer of raisins. Okay, that's looking pretty good. Got most everything filled in. Okay, so now we're going to add a layer of, you're going to use, this is a half a cup of raisins. You're going to add half of that, so a quarter cup of your raisins. Sprinkle those around the bottom of your dish. Fill that in. Use about half of that. Okay. All right, then we're going to take some more bread and keep add a second layer. So start filling in the space again, adding in a second layer of bread over top of the raisins. Really pack it in there. And you're going to save the remainder of the bread for your top layer, which is going to go in last. Fill that in, cover up all those raisins. Cover up that layer. Okay, so we've got our second layer in there, and we're going to add our second half of raisins, sprinkle those over the top again. So it's going to be 3 layers of bread all together when you're done. Okay, so the last step before we move on to our cream is you're going to gently press down that bread layer and the raisins down in there, kind of smoosh them. That's going to get them a little bit more compact. Just press those down, mush them together a little bit, and then they'll be ready for our cream. All right, so for our next step, we're going to move over to the stovetop, and in a medium-sized saucepan, we're going to put it on medium-high heat. So you want to go about medium-high heat, and we're going to mix our 1 1/3 cup of whole milk in here, as well as our 1 1/3 cup of heavy cream, and we're going to bring these to a boil. Once they start to boil, we're going to remove them from heat, and they'll be ready to add in the egg mixture. So for your next step, we're going to be still back at the stovetop again. We're going to bring in another saucepan with a heat-proof bowl. We're going to put that over here, and you're also going to need a whisk. And you're going to bring this water to a simmer. And so we're going to cook our egg mixture over a double boiler. Okay, so for this, we're going to need 4 eggs, half a cup of sugar, and a half a teaspoon of ground cinnamon. And so we're going to whisk those together over this once that water mixture starts to simmer, and we start whisking that together. Add in our eggs. Got 4 eggs. Add this to the double boiler. 4 eggs. And this is so we temper the eggs and don't scramble them. Cup of sugar and our half a teaspoon of cinnamon. And we're going to whisk this together and make sure to whisk constantly until it's going to be mixed together. As that water starts to simmer, this mixture is going to start to thicken. And we're going to want to just keep whisking until it starts to thicken and the whisk starts to leave a trail with the whisk. So I'll show you what you're looking for as your mixture thickens and kind of what consistency you're looking for. But this is one where you're going to have to keep your arm strength up because you're going to be whisking for about 5 to 7 minutes. All right, so now our milk and cream mixture has come to a boil. We're gonna remove this from heat so it doesn't keep cooking. All right, now that we've whisked till we feel like our arm's gonna fall off. So this probably took, easily 5 to 7 minutes or a little bit more depending on how hot you had your water temperature. And so now you'll see we've got this mixture, it has thickened up and it starts to leave a trail with the whisk because there's what you're looking for. So now we're actually gonna remove this from heat and we're gonna combine this with our milk and cream mixture. want to be careful because this is a hot bowl. So we're going to slowly pour the egg mixture into our cream mixture, and make sure to whisk constantly while you do this so that it combines and you don't get scrambled eggs again. But that's why we've tempered our eggs over the double boiler. And so we're going to add this cream mixture add the egg mixture into our cream mixture after it's been combined. That'll give us a nice creamy sauce for the inside of our bread pudding. Now we're going to go back to our bread and raisins mixture. And so we're going to take our cream mixture, and we're going to pour about 1.5 cups or about half of it over the bread and raisins. Just covering it over top. So now we're going to gently kind of press this down with our spatula to kind of mush that bread and soak in that cream. And then you're gonna let all of that bread soak up that liquid and really soak it up. And so we're gonna let this sit for about 30 minutes until the bread has soaked up all that liquid. Then and make sure that right now we're preheating our oven to 350 degrees. We're gonna add in our last layer of bread and our cream, and then we're gonna pop it in the oven. All right, so now that we've let our cream mixture soak into the bread for about half an hour, we're gonna add the other half of the cream mixture to the top here. So we're gonna add this on top. It's gonna look like a lot of cream, but don't worry, we're gonna add in the last layer of bread. So now we're gonna add in this last layer of bread all around the edges, soaking in that last bit of cream, covering that all up. Adding in this last bit of bread to our mixture. That's actually a perfect amount. Try to give it all some room to soak it up. So then we're gonna press this down. So press this down and press pretty firmly with your spatula. This is nice where your spatula comes in. Press this down so that the custard comes halfway up the bread. So you wanna kind of press that down into the bread. Okay, so now we're going to bake this for about 30 to 35 minutes and at the oven set to 350 degrees. And then it's gonna get nice and golden brown on top, and then we'll pull it out of the oven and see what it looks like. All right, so next we're gonna make our sauce anglaise. This is the delicious mixture that we're gonna pour over the top of our bread pudding. And so for this, you're gonna wanna get a medium-sized saucepan and set that on medium-high heat. We're gonna need heavy whipping cream, eggs, vanilla, and sugar. And so I'm actually only doing half the recipe of what it calls for. It calls for 1 quart of heavy cream, 6 egg yolks, 1 teaspoon vanilla extract, and 2 cups of sugar. So I'm just cutting that recipe in half because I don't need as much of the cream. All right, so now we're gonna stir over low heat until the sauce starts to thicken. And so, and you'll know when it's thickened because when you take your spoon out of the sauce, you'll see the residue of the sauce on your spoon or my spatula, which right now you can see we don't have any of that yet, so it's not thick enough yet. All right, so our creme anglaise is finished, and now it's thickened up. And the way that you can test to see that it's done is you can stick a spoon into the mixture. You'll see it coats the back of the spoon. If you can run your finger through it and it holds its shape, that means the creme anglaise is finished. All right, so we just took the bread pudding out of the oven. And so what you're looking for is about 30 to 35 minutes in the oven, or until the tops get golden brown. And you want it to be set. So you can see like we've got this is fully set. We've got a little bit of jiggle to it, but we've got gold and top, really nice and golden on top, and the pudding is set. So now we're gonna let this cool for 10 minutes. And all right, so now that we have our bread pudding finished, we have our creme anglaise finished, you can put that into a bowl and let that go to cool and come to room temperature. And then you can just reheat it when you're ready to, or either serve it fresh, right, when you're with your bread pudding now, or reheat it later to drizzle over the top of your bread pudding. So the last step, and so this one is not included in the cookbook for your recipe, but it's just a simple caramel glaze. And this is what they serve you at Raglan Road. They'll serve you like a nice big cup of the bread pudding, and then with 2 little containers of the creme anglaise and the caramel sauce to drizzle over the top. And it's just a magical combination. So I'm gonna make the caramel sauce as well. So for this, you're just gonna wanna take, I use the caramel bits. These are really nice because they melt really easy in the microwave. So you're gonna take your caramel bits, pour those into a microwavable bowl, and then I'm gonna add a 1/4 cup of evaporated milk into that mixture. and microwave this for about 2 minutes and then kind of stir. And then you can go for another 15 to 30 seconds at a time until the caramel has completely melted. Stir that and then drizzle that over to your bread pudding as well. All right, so now we have finished our recipe. So you've got our bread pudding that's been setting out here for about 10 minutes. And you can see it's settled down in the pan. It is nice and golden brown on top, and it's nice and set. So this looks amazing. I can't wait to dig in. We've got our creme anglaise cooling down in a bowl, and we have our caramel sauce in here as well. That looks ooey gooey delicious. All right, so I'm gonna scoop up a bite to eat here. So we're taking this over to a friend's house later, so I'm excited for them to try it. But I've got to take a bite and let you guys know how it compares to the bread pudding that you get at Raglan Road to see if it's similar to what you can get there. So I'm gonna scoop myself out here a bite. Oh my goodness, look at that. It really set up nicely. Oh, that looks amazing. Okay, so I'm gonna get a little bit of this, a little bit of creme anglaise, drizzle over the top. A little bit of caramel. All right, so let's dig in here. Moment of truth. Let's see how this tastes. Oh my gosh. That is pretty close, if not spot on, to the recipe at Raglan Road. And of course it's warm and out of the oven and still like delicious with the sauces and everything. Oh my goodness, that is really good recipe. So you'll have to let us know in the comments below if you have tried the bread pudding at Raglan Road, because it is fantastic. I'd say the preparation's a little bit different. They make theirs in individual little bowls versus doing it in a large pan like this. But the flavors and the taste and everything, the combination of everything is so close. Like this is they've got this recipe spot on. This is awesome. Oh my goodness. You get just the warm, it's just warm. Bread pudding to me is just like warm comfort dessert food. Oh my goodness. With the little raisins in there and that cream sauce. It just makes it rich and warm and cozy in your mouth. Oh my goodness, I love it. You have to try a bite and see what you think. Dave is taking a bite. See what you think, hon.
It smells delicious.
Yeah, it's been just tempting us. It smells so good in here.
That's exactly like I remember it.
Right?
It's been a little while, but
right? It's been a little while, but it feels like it feels like it's the same.
Yeah. Yeah, this is the best, I think. I've had a lot of bread puddings. Can't beat that. Some of the sauce with this one.
Oh my goodness, so
So
good.
good.
Yeah, if you haven't.
Definitely a very heavy dessert, so I'd go, a little bit goes a long ways.
See that? We
So
just took like a
delicious.
tiny little chunk out of there.
That is so good.
Oh.
Jumping.
Thank you so much for joining us for this fun cooking demonstration for how to make the bread and butter pudding. Oh my goodness, I can't get over how good this was. So you'll have to let us know down below in the comments if you guys have tried the bread pudding at Raglan Road. If you have, definitely recommend trying this recipe. If you love it, you can replicate it and make it at home. It is just as good as I remember at Raglan Road. And Dave definitely agreed. So that is a keeper recipe. I'm definitely gonna be making this again. I can't wait to share this with my family and friends. Because if you've been to Raglan Road and tried it, you'll know what I'm talking about. But definitely recommend trying out this recipe. Again, I'll post a link down below to where you can get the cookbook if you'd like to. You can get it at Disney Parks. That's where we picked up the cookbook. But if you can't get over to Disney Parks, I believe they're going to have it for sale available on Amazon here coming up in, I think it's in April of 2022. So you should be able to pre-order it on Amazon if you'd like to and get your hands on this cookbook, because it's really got a lot of really amazing recipes in it. So I'm so glad that this one was in there so I could try this recipe at home. Anyway, if you enjoyed this video, please give us a big thumbs up. That really helps us out. If you enjoyed this video, let us know in the comments below if you've made bread pudding at home, or if you try out this recipe, we'd love to hear from you. And if you haven't subscribed to our channel, we welcome you to subscribe for more content like this. We occasionally will do cooking demonstrations. We do lots of dining reviews at Disney parks, going to Disney restaurants and things like that. And as well as family-friendly content of us going around the Disney parks and doing lots of fun things at Disney parks. So So we definitely welcome you to subscribe and join our family adventures. Hope you have a wonderful day, and we'll see you next time. Bye, guys.